Hey, everybody, welcome to Mid America Dirt. I'm Skip, and I am super excited to be joined by Trent Francis, owner of Crowley's Ridge Raceway. How are you doing today, sir?
All good. Doing very well.
Trent, you own one of my favorite racetracks that I've been to. I mean, I had a blast at your place, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But first, do you come from a racing family? What's your history in racing?
Wow. That's a long way. My dad in Paragould in 1961 raced the first weekend at George Ray's drag strip. And he did that for 3 or 4 years. And in 1965, on vacation, we moved to Arkansas to see my uncle, and he is already in California. Moved from We went to vacation in California to visit my uncle. Well, my uncle was short-handed, had a construction company, and my dad went to work just for that week. Well, he made $225 that week, and in Arkansas, he was making $35 a week. In saying that, we never moved back. Um, my grandpa rented the house out there in Arkansas, and we moved to California. Now, my dad raced drag race in Arkansas. We moved to California. We moved next door to a circle track racer, next to a circle track racer, and got to be friends with him. Dad helped him a year. Then Dad started racing some. Then that was like in 1966, probably, and moved up from there. By 1970, he was doing some Winston West stuff. In the mid 70s, he went to Daytona, did Riverside and Ontario, mostly all asphalt NASCAR stuff. And my dad retired from racing about 1985, and then maybe a little bit before, about 85. Then by then, I was doing a little dirt racing, and he started um, owning dirt cars. I wasn't one of his drivers, but very little I was. After he got his feel of some dirt, when he retired, um, we kind of moved to Arkansas. Moved to Arkansas, but that's another whole story. I raced from about 1981 to 1986. I wasn't that good a driver. I won my share of races. Um, I had to have a really good car, and all the stars lined up in racing. There's race car drivers on earth, and there's guys that drive race cars. I'm a guy that drove a race car.
I
I
guess.
wasn't that good.
What
I didn't
class were
crash.
you?
But
What class were you
wasn't
racing, Trent?
shoot. I started off like everybody else, go-karts, side by sides. Well, they weren't side by sides then. They were three wheelers. Then the side by sides, like those Honda Odysseys. That was the early side by side. Then I raced street stocks. I raced late models, and that they had like a Sportsman Series deal. And the last year I raced, I won the most features at Bakersfield Speedway and street stocks, and every single feature except for one that I got second at Rocky Hill Speedway. And that was in 86, and me and my wife were ready to get married, do something different. And I just kind of rang the bell and said, I've not had enough, but time to move on to something else. Now, my wife's family, her dad owned race cars that my dad knew, asphalt stuff. Her dad had boats, race boats, and all that stuff. And now we get down to my daughters. They raced four cylinders and moved up some at the Ridge. They certainly needed a race to be able to run and own the place. And then the two son-in-laws, Peggy's husband, Josh, he was a racer, or he still is a racer, modified racer. And my other daughter, Paige, her husband is John Hill. He still races too. He's a late model racer. My wife has raced. Um,
Wow,
just always raced.
golly, no joke. That's
Mess. Just always raced. All right. Now that's probably all about the racing. I know. Okay, in Arkansas, um, I race when it's handy. I race go karts over there Memphis quite a bit. street stock around here a little bit. I drove other people's cars around here a little bit. Nothing serious. As of right now, I have a Vroom vintage car, and I'm gonna race at Memphis. I raced at Memphis about 2 months ago in their little series they have. It's wonderful. I raced.
Yeah,
We had.
I've seen you in a 305 at your track.
I I have a 305. I have a sprint car, wing sprint car that really not a full-fledged. It's a full-fledged race car with an automatic transmission with a starter, and it really hurts it a lot. It really don't have a race motor in it, but I've raced it with the 305s. Um, that's about it for racing. My girls aren't racing anymore. The son-in-laws aren't racing very much. I guess I'm the only active racer at 65 years old.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So how did you get back to Arkansas and California, and how did the Crowley's Ridge come about?
Okay, this is kind of. Hope I don't talk in circles like I normally do. In 1986, I hit my dinger in racing. I said, "Let's go ahead and find something else to do." My wife Brenda, let's find something else to do. We knew we wanted to move in 1986. You think California's a little hard to live there now? In 1986, we saw it then. So we were going to move to the coast out there, and I'd had the job interview and stuff with UPS. Looked like I was going to get a job at UPS, but my dad had different plans. Me and my wife, I had a friend named Doug Taylor that started a Bush team. Lloyd McCrory. I had a lot of friends that were moving east. That was a heyday of NASCAR. I mean, NASCAR was going and blowing. TV just hit. So me and my wife, Brenda, we would go to Statesville, North Carolina. We'd watch the Charlotte race. And we went 2 years in a row. And she was always in medical. She could have found a job easy, looked around a little bit. And I was pretty much, Doug Taylor set me up to go to work for Roush. So got all that done, come back to Arkansas. My mom and dad had been in their motorhome. They was pretty much retired then, and went to, they'd gone to the World Fair, or the big fair in Tennessee, whatever they had, whatever year that was. And we met back in Arkansas. My dad's asked how it went in North Carolina. I said, we got everything lined up. I mean, it's easy to go. We got free motel, stay at my aunt's house. We get on our feet, everything will work. Sell our stuff and move. And my dad didn't say anything about Arkansas, racing Arkansas, but that's where we were originally from. We got back to Arkansas. We got back to work in California. Me and my wife did. My dad calls on the phone. He said, "Hey, you thinking about moving to Arkansas?" I said, "That's the last thing really on our list, but what are you thinking?" He said, "I'm getting ready to buy some land in Arkansas, and let's build a racetrack." I said, "You and Brenda in?" I said, "Yeah." They asked my sister and her husband. They were out, and actually, we sold all our stuff. Me and Brenda did. My dad kept a house there. We sold everything we had and moved to Arkansas in October of '86 and started building Crowley's Ridge Raceway. Um, Started building it. We wanted a Friday night track, so everybody had the weekend off. Some of the most successful tracks I've ever been to on the West Coast did not run on Saturdays. We wanted a Friday night track, but Pocahontas was the only track really running at that time up here, and they were a Friday night track because I think old Gib Burgess had a auction on Saturdays. So we picked Saturdays. My dad had enough money to buy the. This is pretty scary. My dad had enough money to buy the land outright. Most of the racetracks on right now. And me and Brenda just handed my dad our credit cards to build a racetrack. And he used his credit cards. He never went to the bank one time.
Wow.
Me and my wife lived at my grandma's house, and we built a racetrack and got it going. I mean, we did that thing. I mean, we didn't have a paycheck, but the racetrack got going. It was successful. During that first summer, my wife started applying for jobs and went to work for St. Bernard's here in Jonesboro, and they've been working there 19 years. They were retired from there. And me went to work for a guy named Larry Duke. He had K-Fine and KISS and all those radio stations. And
Oh.
I was looking for an easy job, really, because I didn't want anything physical. That's what I had in California on the other racetracks would be physical. And worked for a radio station for 17 and a half years.
What'd you do at the
And
radio
then,
station?
well, started off doing remotes and stuff like that. And I wasn't on the air hard at all, mostly logistics. And then he bought some billboards from the mayor. He said, Trent, this is right up your alley. Well, holy mackerel. Did I build? We took down signs he bought, put some up. I ended up building about 300 billboards in Northeast Arkansas over 17 years. Oh, now we get a little breath here. I don't get everything all mixed up. My wife had 19 years in. I had 17 years in. And then 911 hit for me in the radio station. And my boss, Larry Duke, right before that, sold out to Clear Channel. Well, I just told Larry Duke, I said, keep working with Clear Channel. We were great friends, still great friends. And I got a severance from Clear Channel when 911 hit. And I took some of my wife's money, all my money, and went to be a contractor for the company that I worked for. In doing that, I could build a billboard for myself. I could work on their billboards. I bought some billboards, built some billboards, and this is a more timeline deal. 21 years. Me and my wife worked another 21 years in the billboard business and built about, we had 65 billboards and we had about 50, all paid
Wow.
for. Sold those in November of 23, one check, put it away, and that retired us from working everyday job. That didn't retire us from the racetrack. The racetrack started in 86. It's still going on. Owning a racetrack, you got to have a pretty good job. Our track, we run the best of the summer. We start after the weather gets better in April, right after Easter. We start in the 20s. This year it's the 25th of April. And we will finish up the Saturday of Labor Day. We get about 22 races in. We will get 22 races in no matter what. Racetrack has done well. We had a little opposition when we first opened it, and that all smoothed out. Since then, you can't build any more racetracks.
Yeah.
Racetrack politics is just stinky at best. Nobody wants one in their
Understand.
backyard, but everybody wants to go to one.
Yeah.
How's that?
Can I ask you this question? Can I ask you a question? When you guys were building the track, the shape of it, did you guys just go with what you had on the shape, or did you guys come up with that shape?
Well, no, and this is a good one. We can thank Rocky Hill Speedway in Porterville, California for that. Because we'd go up there. Now, my dad bought enough land. That could have been a third mile cookie cutter third mile racetrack like everybody else. But Dad, we knew we wanted entry level stuff. And we go to I-30 was a little bit bigger than us. BB was a little bit bigger than us. We looked at Pocahontas was about the same size of it, and West Memphis was smaller. And West Memphis had some action. I mean, it had action. So we decided to make it a quarter mile on the outside. So around the outside of the wall, it's a quarter mile. Now the oblong shape is on purpose. Rocky Hill Speedway was like that. You had one turn, you could just flat foot it nearly all the way around, one sharp turn. That kind of made everybody's setup where you're not wide open all the way around or that kind of stuff. It's very hard to keep it that way. It would be a lot easier for me just to not change that blade on that grader and just start. In 1 year, I could probably make it an oval, perfect oval.
Yeah.
It's odd shape, pretty high bank on 3 and 4. One thing we do have at that place is the best red clay on earth. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's a little sandy at the first of the year when it rains on it. I can get that turned out after our first race or two. It's set for the summer. The shape, it's very small. Sprint cars run around there in 9-10 seconds. Late
Yeah,
models also.
It's interesting to
Mhm.
watch. I mean, it really is. It's an interesting shape. It's an interesting track, and it actually had some of the best racing I saw. I saw some of the best racing there that I saw all summer at your track.
And well, thank you. No, thank you very much. Um, and being a small track with a lot of action, the fans really support it. I mean, the fans are there.
No,
They're there every week.
well, I've told this story 100 times that we came down there. I think it was the first weekend of high school football in Arkansas, and that place was packed. It was absolutely packed, and man, it makes you feel good to go to a racetrack and see it packed like that.
I could probably say this. This is kind of a odd thing to say, but I'm in the entertainment business. And if those people aren't entertained, they're not going to come back. I don't care if you have probably the worst thing you have is the guy set fast time, one last week, set fast time, won the heat, sets on pole the feature, wins the feature. We're all looking at our phones, wondering what the next going to happen in the next race. We have a crazy format. Me and my wife went to Bowman Gray Stadium one of those times going to North Carolina to relocate. And at intermission, they come out there with I think it was like a set of dice, like those great big old fuzzy dice you get.
Yeah.
I think all the even numbers, that means they invert the whole field, and odd numbers, they go straight up. One of the nights we were there and it went straight up like the winner of the heats. Everybody was just kind of quiet and pretty damn good race. We went through the next time, it went inverted. Every person in that stand stood up and cheered. And we rooted for that guy that won the heat, come back and won that feature. So there's not a lot of tracks that do that kind of format. Ken Schrader came one time. He said, I've never seen this before. He said, what's this other draw for? I said, well, you draw for the heat, you draw for the feature. He said, well, what we do in the heat race? I said, with this place, you get paid in the heat. You're not running for free for a position. He said, well, I think I just went back in time 30 years. Well, you win this week, the feature. Next week, the best you can start is sixth. You win 2 weeks in a row, the best you can start is sixth. Then it gets complicated. This has happened. Third week, you start in the back, all the way in the back. So it's not too much of a deal. The fourth week, and this happened the last year, I guess, it's the last time with Stephen Crocker. He won 4 weeks in a row. Guess what? He started on the front. He better get a yellow flag so he can get caught up. We started him on the front row.
Golly.
He had to come around and he got back to second place. And we bonus them all if you come back from any of the back or like that.
Oh,
But he's an
man.
amazing driver. We were rooting for him to win. Again, there was fans that were tired of him winning. We were rooting for him to pass them all and win.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the entertainment part of it. We have a lot of help though. I mean, like we have we have great ambassadors. Kenny Wallace and Kenny Schrader, they both come see us. I have a handful of people. They offer to help before we even ask sometimes. I mean, like Chris Ellis and Jason King. I'm gonna miss somebody. Chris Lloyd, Barry Bodie, Kenneth Goey, Larry Shaw, Kenny Conrad on the sprint car part, Bill Russian, construction buddy next door. Those people will just jump in there and help at any time. A lot of times they offer, like I said, again, they offer before I need the help. We're on a short season. I have one employee. I think between me and Brenda right now, we're the only, we have one employee that's been there since day one, and they'll bring another guy into this too. A guy named Rick Taylor. He had a radio station. We moved to town, and Dad said, we want to get this thing on the radio. And he was interested in racing. As a matter of fact, he's still there. 40 years later, he's still working for
Wow.
us, Rick Taylor.
That's awesome.
And we kind of had to have, this is a funny one, we kind of had to have two announcers. The first 2 years we ran, we had Mooney as an announcer. And I think that might have been his first start in racing. And he
Yeah.
he was kind of hard to keep in the seat. So Dad hired another announcer to cover for him when he's not in that seat. I don't think sitting in there in that announcer's booth was great for him all the time. And Rick Taylor now is still our announcer. This was my dad's idea, and it worked pretty good. Rick sells tickets until 7:30. At 5 o'clock he gets there. He sells tickets till 5:30. No, 7:30. Then he goes up in the tower and does the national anthem. Well, sitting in that selling tickets, he knows when everybody's birthday. He knows Rick sees just about everybody in those stands, if it's his line or not, when he's announcing race tonight. He knows if they're in there or not. It's like, wow, who come up with this?
That's awesome.
It's like, um, the racetrack, me and Brenda are kind of wearing down a little bit. I had a few back issues going on, had a few issues last year. Besides working 2 jobs for 50 years, kind of wore us down. And the kids have been stepping up and stepping up and stepping up. And this year they stepped up again. They've always, since my dad passed on and my mom retired, they took over the tower. The two girls took over the tower, and their husbands work upstairs when they weren't racing. Now they're mostly just working in the tower. They do all that crappy work, like 1099s and the transponders and the pit passes and the points, and that stuff me and my wife do not want to do.
Right,
I
right.
mean, I do 90% of the track prep, watering. I just do
That's what I was
the
about to
doc.
say. When we came down there, I mean, you were out there. Could we, we asked where you were at, and they said, well, he's out there putting water on the track. Sure enough, I mean, we saw you just going back and forth watering that track, and then saw you hop in a car, go run.
Well, that's got to slow down. Actually, this year the kids are really they stepped it up this year again. Like I said, Paige and Peggy and Josh and John, they really stepped up this year. I don't think I'm going to have to sign my name hardly anything, and that's a good thing. Um, like I said, trying to retire 12 years ago. We'll get away from the track just for a second. 12 years ago, we had those billboards, and I had one employee, Kevin Miller, world's greatest guy, world's greatest employee. He could do anything. He could run those billboards, and I could sell them or rent them, not being there. So we bought a motorhome when we started to slow down in the after race season in January. We'd go to West Coast, see friends, and all that. Finally, I got coming down here to Daytona about 12 years ago. Man, that was a good deal. Man, you talk about a race in town in January and February. Volusa's going on. There's an
Yeah.
asphalt track here. Bubba Speedway over there. I mean, there was just tons of race. And then all with the asphalt track, New Smyrna, East Bay, they're everywhere down here. And everybody from anywhere, if there's cold, they're here. So that was really fun. And we stayed down here about 2 months a year in my motorhome, or mine and Brenda's motorhome, until we sold our billboards. That's when it got iffy on me. My wife didn't want to stay 2 months. I guess I was just too much for her, 2 months in a motorhome in Florida. So she bought a little house down here, and we're in this house right now.
Okay.
Not a big old deal. It's like in Arkansas, everybody calls it a duplex. In Florida, it's a cottage. We're sharing a roof. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's a duplex.
Yeah.
And it's in a great neighborhood. We've never lived in a neighborhood like this before, but it's kind of fun. A lot of things happening here. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now, do you hit speed weeks and stuff down there here in February?
I had the 24-hour race, all the speed weeks, Volusa.
That's awesome.
There's so many races down here. I'm a fair weather guy. If a little cold front comes through or something, and I can't wear my shorts or have to wear a big coat, I just stay here. I ball. Have we got Florida out of the way? Yeah, when I got friends coming down here too. And about the only track you ever see that 90% of my racers do not hot lap. Every Saturday night, I'm going to run my 6 weekly classes. We run 6 weekly classes, and that's a lot, but they run every Saturday night. If I have a special touring series or something, I'll make them go on a. No, I don't make them. I tell them, you got a Friday night option. That's what you get. And because my racers are going to race when we start till we stop at Labor Day every Saturday night, all their classes. You're not going to take off on think the 4 cylinders don't get to run this week, but they do next week. They're all going to run. I got a name, our tech man. This is kind of a strange deal, another strange. Name's Arnold Miller, Wild Man. He's older than I am. He's raced forever and got too old to race like me. And he's our tech man. He's very good. We are very quiet on DQs. We don't want 6 days of crapola on social media about, well, you DQ'd him for this, and that guy'd been running that for 6 months. Well, we didn't catch him, or he wasn't in the top 3 to check. So our DQs are quiet. You're still, if you get DQ'd, you're still gonna get your trophy, and your picture's still on Facebook, and you got the win. But it got taken care of upstairs after the races, and that happened a
Right.
few times this year. DQs are quiet. We got a great flagman. The flagman, actually, my dad hired, um, before he passed on 12 years ago, and he is so good. That little Combs, I call him Little Combs. He is just so good. He flagged for Mooney some. He just a great flagman. Great. We got a great tech man, the flagman. Just everybody's in place for everything to work well.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, um, Tyler, like I said, I think Tyler would probably Combs. He could probably Little Combs, what I call him. His dad races. He could probably take a piece of paper and write down who won the top 5 and who fell out. He could probably hand the payoff to the girls. That's how good Tyler is.
Wow. Okay.
But he's still a kid. He's probably 30 years old now. I still call him Little Combs. Um, we're going to have 2 Friday night specials this year.
Yeah, I'm excited for sure about one of them. I know for a fact. I've been looking forward. When I saw that comp cams come up, I said that's my top. Got to get 2 races this year.
It don't have me nervous at all. And we usually run 2 Friday night races. Our schedule, everybody's look forward to coming out. Don't look forward to coming out. Just same weeks, it's the same 2 specials every year for years and years and years. Um, Actually, our first big late model race happened. He wanted to have one, and me and Dad were in the middle of trying to put a sprint car race package together with Kenny Conrad for the Ridge the first year we raced. And then Dad says, Mooney, do whatever you want to do. Put your late model race on, pay what you want to pay. I don't think Dad charged him for the place. Just we need to get something going. Had a hell of a damn Moyer one. A
Yeah,
lot of
I heard
famous
about it.
there. Mooney was happy. Mooney moved on to owning his own racetrack. That was a cool deal. That was going to happen anyway. I mean, he's a hyper big time guy. Um, and I put together a sprint car race. Well, I'm probably going to brag a little bit. He thinks he had a lot of fans. I had more fans for the sprint car race because at that time late models weren't that big around here, and Little Rock and Riverside all had sprint cars, all had sprint car in there, and they all showed up at one time. Kenny Conrad really he helped us out there a lot, and that's days before we had cell phones and trade magazines and crap. I mean, he had a Rolodex. He started calling them off a Rolodex. You know what I mean? And he said, "Go ahead, we'll have a race there." I didn't think. I mean, Mooney probably did a lot of more calling. We didn't call anybody except for Kenny Conrad, and we advertised going to have a race. Not only was it full, but it was like standing room only, and the race happened. Perfect race. I mean, we've had a lot of famous racers there in the years. I can't even mention all of them. Moyers and Kinsers and Swindells, and it's just hey, I can't think of a lot more about.
Yeah, it's Swindell there last year when I was there, racing that
Yeah, he run
vintage car.
that maroon class. That's a good deal they got going. Um, you take a retired old worn out sprint car and you put an old guy in it and call it a vintage car, put a P car body on it. I mean, um, mine needs more motor, but I don't know if I need more motor. How's that?
I
Um,
gotcha.
in a minute,
But
we uh, got to talk about the future of racing.
yeah, what
Uh,
do you think about it?
well, I was going to really run some stuff by you. The world really needs to get on the same page with this. Now, the future of racing, one thing that's not going to happen, we've been here forever, and I've got Mooney and Clayton and Tracy Clay and Paul, and all of them got racetracks. We're never going to have 4 racetracks in any state with the exact same rules running on different nights. I mean, that's just not going to happen. And most of our cars run our track only or their track only. The rules line up. I guess it's convenience when I don't race or they don't race. I don't know. We were worried about racing when we started the track because in 1986, believe this or not, we started in 87. That was the end of the GM metric cars, and front wheel drive cars were just booming everywhere. Well, what cars are going to race? Well, guess what? That was an 80. I think of probably an 88 Monte Carlo was the last rear wheel drive one. That's pretty dang close. Yeah, I think that's right. Guess what? They're still pulling them through the gate.
Oh yeah,
If they're racing. I mean, we're going to go. Maybe this thing will go 5 years. Guess what? It's still going.
still going.
Um, I'm going to tell you the biggest mistake. I'm going to make some promoters mad at me right here, or mad, or they're going to scratch their head. One of the biggest mistakes that all tracks made, but I made the biggest one. In 1987, we had our first race on this is after tax time, April 15th of 87. We had basically what we have now, 85 to 90 cars, 3 classes. Guess what? That's 3 first place trophies. At the end of the year, that's 3 classes per points. Well, during the years, let's go 5 years later. Well, now, like I said, they rear wheel drive, they started some front wheel drive. We started from 4 cylinders. Then, guess what? Here comes IMCA. Well, might as well run IMCAs. Well, that's pretty good. Then Chris Ellis, I'm going to give him the credit. He come back from Texas and with this Arkansas factory stock deal, and that's one of my biggest classes now. Now do the math. I had 3 classes, 85 to 90 cars. Okay. Now I got 6 classes, 85 to 90 cars.
Yeah.
Do the math. 6-point fund, 6 first places, 6 first place trophies, all that stuff. Plus they get paid more. So if a racetrack ever went out of business, that's a good thing to look at. Why do we have the same amount of cars, same amount of guys having fun with more classes?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just ugly.
What do you think about the National Touring Series?
I do all I can afford. A national series. We've had Pete Walton, USCS. Here's the brag on Pete Walton. He is the most natural, biggest, most efficient promoter that's ever been on my property. That guy, he promotes. We probably had 4 or 5 of his races. Thought we was going to get one this year. He's got a different way of working, but I tell you what, he is probably the best promoter he is the best promoter I know. He's the best promoter that's ever been on the property. And Chris Ellis, very good promoter, owned the racetracks. He started that comp cams deal, and it was probably 5 years before we had one. The dad says, we run late models every week, and that's a lot of money, and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to shut off. So dad, actually, the week, Chris Ellis called me up, said, hey, we got to get a race at the Ridge. I said, okay. Well, I'm trying to get this right here. I said, all right. And my dad says, get it lined up with Chris and make it on a big weekend and don't make it the smallest race they have. I said, okay. So I got on to Chris. I said, Chris, you ain't going to be this crap. My dad wants a comp race. He said, well, I thought he would, but getting him to do it's going to be a hard thing. So we made him lined up. Labor Day Classic. Hell, that's been going on forever. Labor Day Classic. I think it went on 12 years. Still going on. About 12 years ago. Yeah, but Dad, so what happened? We got it all lined up. I told Dad we got lined up for Labor Day next year. We're going to pay $3,000 to win, $300 to start. He said, good deal. My dad passes away that next day. The next day after that happened, Chris Collins says, well, I'm sorry about your dad. He says, I guess he wanted that race to happen, didn't he? I mean, the next day. I went, wow. Man, and Chris and my dad were really close. A lot closer than me and Chris were. That's a tourist series. We had USCS races. We've had ASCS races. We've had comp cams races. We got to the comp cams going on. And then when Chris sold it to the Sullivans, they stepped it up a whole level off Chris did. They stepped it up to more money, more famous racers. I'm not going to say more professional. They raised the bar quite a bit. And they made it after about 3 of them. I told Chris Sullivan, I said, without a sponsor, I can't make this go. I could do a race with a Chris Ellis Comp Cams race without a sponsor. And I got a sponsor for one, and he had other tracks to go to. There's his drivers, I think they like going to those third mile tracks better. And we didn't have a comp race for about 3 years. And then, and we tried every year. I was probably short about $5,000 having a successful one. And so we didn't have it. And the new owners, a guy named Will, called me up. He said, "We're going to make this thing happen." And I told him what I had to work with, and he found a sponsor too. And believe it or not, the biggest race we've ever had is 5,000 win. We're going to have a 10,000 win comp race Friday night, the August 6th.
Yeah, I'm
And
super
it's a great
excited
time.
about it.
Be dry, all that stuff. We haven't got the classes we're going to run with them, support classes down yet. My son-in-law is working on a schedule for this year, Josh, working on a schedule right now. And I told him what I thought, what we should run with them, and it didn't bite off too good. So maybe my idea is good. Josh and John really work hard at the racetrack. Peggy and Paige, they're particular. They're school teachers, and they're pretty particular about the gates and all that stuff. They take it a lot more to make it more professional than Trent does. I mean, I got that damn track watered. Been working on this all damn thing. I'm ready to pop me a adult drink and just
Watch some racing.
go get me a clean shirt on, and then we're gonna watch the race with everybody else. They're very professional. I'm so blessed to have them working there and their family, all that. And we got grandbabies with them. And if me and Brenda can get, back up. If I can get those kids to half-ass replace me and Brenda a little bit, we can enjoy the grandbabies and races a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think I said a bad word on there, didn't I?
Oh, you're good. But
Um,
I understand. I mean, that sounds good.
we're, I mean, me and my wife, I mean, we got down here in Florida and she said her hip was hurting. Well, this morning her hip wasn't hurting anymore because it's warm down here, you know?
Yeah.
What else? There's a lot of people. We were IMCA for a while.
But let me ask you a question.
I-30
Trent, let me ask you a question real quick.
Go ahead.
So what makes you decide to go IMCA instead of like USRA? Is there a particular thing that makes you pick one over the other?
Tracy, about 3 years ago, I'm gonna say 5 years. We were IMCA for 5 years. We just ran our own set of rules, kind of like we are now. Tracy Clay was IMCA, Mooney was IMCA, West Plains was IMCA. Everybody around me was IMCA.
Okay.
Jim Standard, a hell of a nice guy. I think I knew him long before IMCA. Him and Jason King said, "I think it'd be good for you." Well, the first 2 years were wonderful out of 5. And then Tracy closes down. And that kind of, I-30, that hurt my count. Legit wasn't running IMC anymore. That hurt again. And it got down to just me and old Mooney over there at Batesville. Well, there was more cars. There were more modified racers sitting in my stands than there was racing on the track because they all, and finally, I think one of the daughters, I think Paige says, "I think we'd be better off without them." I called Jim. I didn't want no hard feelings. Me and Brett Root are friends. I'll see him down here at the promoter's workshop in a week or two. We just said we don't want to do it no more. And I said we might want to do it again because Mooney's been IMCA, then not IMCA, been IMCA, then not. So I'm not going to say never. I'm going to say it's going to happen again. But I'd really like to see it one of the stock car classes be IMCA instead of the modifieds. Boy, my phone, you're probably going to see some text popping on here, but oh well. I would keep one of those IMCA texts. The classes, my little late model class I run weekly. I got a great bunch of guys, mostly just 2 heat races, the way hard times are and everything, but they put on a good race. There's enough of them to race every week. I don't know of another track that runs late models weekly anywhere.
No.
I don't. It's hard. It's hard. Sometimes it's a little skimpy, but guess what? For $10 at the front gate, you're getting to see late models. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, you'll have three heat races of them. The modifieds. My dad was never a modified fan. I drove them a little bit. I don't know. I think they're very exciting to watch on the track. They're a great bunch of guys we have. Yeah. Now our street stocks, I think they're headed for hard times because they're costing so much money.
Man, no, you're right about that.
I can run a late model at the Ridge cheaper than I can
Yes,
run a street stock.
that's crazy.
Then everybody's starting to let them run quick changes. Next thing, then they are going to be late model and they'll be phased out. It's out with the track's help and what they're wanting to do could be a train wreck someday. I mean, well, street stocks are really they're better than the late models I ever had. I mean, they are just now they got quick changes coming on and they are just so sophisticated, but they're great. Some of our best races. So
Yeah.
what can I say?
Trent, let me
Back
ask you
your
this
stock.
question. I want
Yes,
to
sir.
get I want to get this question in with you. When I ask you this question, what's the top thing that comes to mind? What is there a race that stands out to you in your mind as the best race you've ever seen at Crowley's Ridge?
I'm going to say there's two. I want to say there's two. No, I'm going to say there's three, and I was in the seat for one of them. How's that? I'm going to
All
brag
right.
on what's five Grayson. Okay, probably the best one was Hooker Hood winning his last feature at the Ridge in a sprint car. And the stands, I'm telling you what, I was at Charlotte one time, North Carolina, and watched Richard Petty win. They were tearing the seats out of the place to take a piece of that with them. When Hooker Hood won a feature at the Ridge, and that was at the, I can say it nicely, not the end of his career, twilight of his career, that was big. That was really, really big. Chris Ellis, the first comp race, this thing fed on itself for a week. So we finally got our first comp race. Everything's looking good. Everything's looking good. 20% chance of rain. The sun is out. I mean, we got both warriors there. There is people from I've never even people I just that really don't race at the Ridge. They wanted a part of that. I think that's what's going to happen on this 10,000 win race too.
Yeah, I agree
They
with you.
they wanted a piece. And man, a guy named Jared Hayes. We're standing in the pits. There was a 20, no less. I think it was a 20% chance of rain. The sun's out. Here comes this black cloud over. They got hot laps in. And the next thing, I ran into this trailer because it started raining, and I was getting a tractor off the track. I ran into Jared Hayes' trailer, and there was a 6-inch wall of water running down the driveway. I stood there and looked it up, and it was 2 minutes later, 3 minutes later, the sun popped out. Run the track, it was done. So I told, we didn't even have rain. We didn't even have rain like a separate ticket for that night because there was no chance for rain. So the comp race had to be put off a week. What a mess. We got it all in. The next week, more of a crowd because it fed on itself. Who's going to be there? Here comes Chris and Tracy Clay in to run it, and Jamie and all of them get the show going on. Probably the absolute best late model race I've ever seen. Beard and Dacus and Moyers, and they've all won. Wendell Wallace has won here. All the comp races, but that first one had to be the best one. I don't know how it won. Now, I'm not a racer, but I got to tell you about the third best finish. I sat in the driver's seat. My cousin Kenny Pegg had this late model. Pretty damn good car. He bought it from old Robert Powers. Put his own motor in it and stuff. And his win won when the light was I'm shined up. And Kenny had a golf tournament one night. Well, the time he got back from the golf tournament, he wasn't much shape to be driving a race car. And he said, drive my car in the feature. Well, I just started dang thing in the back. The old big old black car. Fast, fast. Well, I got to third. Had a hell of a bunch of good racers there that night. And Robbie Arnold and Johnny Waters, they were on the bottom. They were catfishing it up. One would pass one passed another, one passed one another, and I'm in third place. My best bet was to watch a good race. Well, they got to fighting so hard they got slowing themselves up. When they threw the white flag, both of them kind of screwed up in turn one, trying for the same position. Well, I held old Kenny's car wide open down that back straightaway, and I just barely made it through 3 and 4. I went past them by a car length to the finish line, and believe it or not, they never saw me. They pulled in the middle because they were side by side, one who won the race. The flagman walked over and handed me the checkered flag.
Oh man, that's awesome.
They said, you won. I passed them on the outside because they were down there. I was just walking a dog on the outside. So I did brag about me winning a race. I was
Oh,
my dad. He was a heck of an influence on all us racing. A lot of people around the ridge. At first, when he was younger, he built a lot of motors and cars and that kind of stuff around there. My dad was he was Mr. Racing. He lived racing this and that. I mean, you couldn't have sent him down here to Florida like me and my wife's doing for 3 months. You know, you couldn't do that. He just want to be around the track, be around racing.
and
He
his name was Glenn
Glenn.
Glenn
Glenn,
Francis.
he was a good racer. Him and my daughter Paige drives a lot alike. They drive for the last lap. They don't drive for the first lap. Me, I'll probably drive. I'll usually drive till I tear it up. Peggy's drive the same way. For a hard driver, John and Josh were pretty hard drivers. The racetrack, when they married into the family, they pretty much had to retire. They had to go to work. I'm trying to give them more of it. I'm really honest. I'm trying to give them more of it, man. Everything on me hurt.
I mean, you got to
Um,
get set up down there at Crowley's Ridge where you can get up there and hang out
yeah,
on the top and watch some racing and have a good time.
yeah, it is a good time.
Yeah,
We have the best fans. I got to thank them again.
you do.
And we surround. I I can't say I've surrounded myself or the ridge has surrounded itself good people. They surrounded it. They brought it in. You know what I mean? I mean, there is some people that's raced since the first night now. And I'll tell you something about the two son-in-laws married. They both raced and they married my daughters. But this is a good one here. John Hill. Okay, both of their dads, John Hill's dad, that'd be Ed Hill, and Josh's dad, they both raced the first night we raced at the Ridge.
Really,
Jeff,
that's awesome.
Ed Hill run the first night. Now,
That's
this is a
awesome.
bad one. John Hill, when we built the racetrack, his mom, Christy, was holding, but we was out there moving dirt on track. Arnold Miller, my tech man now, and Christy was holding this little baby. That was my future son-in-law. I
I'll
knew my
be
son.
dang.
I knew my son-in-law before I knew my daughter. You know, I don't.
Yeah,
I've known him a long time.
that's awesome.
Uh,
That's awesome.
we all seem to we come together pretty good. A family operation is tough sometimes, but finding the middle ground is what you really got to do. I mean, me and my wife are kind of always on the same page because we got to get the concession crap up there because we have full. We're going to have full. We're going to run out of food about every night. We're going to have that full. We got to get that stuff cleaned up. The track's got to be smooth. On Saturday night or Sunday, I grade the track. I do not want that pothole there. If I got a pothole or a rough spot or soft spot, I do not want that there all week. I'll sit there getting hard in the sun trying to get well.
Yes. Whatever you're doing it right because that is one of the best crowds and some of the best racing that I saw that I've seen. I mean, and I went to the Dream. I went to the Dream at Eldora, and I don't know that I had as much fun there as I did at Crowley's Ridge, watching that
Well,
Steel Block Late Model race and 305 sprints. I
mhm.
mean, I had a blast. It was great.
We're gonna have our first car show here at the Ridge this year on a Sunday. It's a donation for foster care. I just saw it come through. I just loaned the place out to some lady in Pocahontas. Going to try to raise money for foster kids. Other than that, can't think of much. Wallace and Schrader will be around. Wallace has been sticking around home more lately. I'll see him a lot down here in Florida.
Straight,
Called a few times.
he's out kicking it out west in the desert this week.
Yeah, I'll see them all. I see them about every day down here in Florida. They're really good. Schrader's such an ambassador. He says like going to the Ridge, like going back 30 years in time.
Oh, I love
I
it.
guess
Old school
that's good.
cool. That's what I like to say. Yeah, Crowley's Ridge is old school cool. I love that place.
It runs itself. I guess I'm going to get off here.
Okay, Trent. Well, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
About 2 o'clock here in Florida. I don't know. I don't know what time it might be time for my tie. I want to thank all my racers and all the people that helped. If I left your name out or something, so I didn't mean to do that because man, I might be looking at you next.
I got you.
This, like I said, race. We just need to go looking forward to everything. Everything needs to keep going a positive.
Yes.
Not all racetracks are going to work together. Not all racetracks are going to have the same rules. All that crap. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
just not going to happen. We got to do our best to stay in. I mean, Kid Burgess did it his way. We're doing it our way. This, like I said, we're under the same management. Only time we ever got closed up for a few months is during that COVID mess, and I got in big trouble over that. Like, it wasn't my fault those people wouldn't sit 6 feet apart. What a mess. Yeah, no kidding.
I got you, man. Well, hey,
Hey, Skip,
Trent
let's do this again sometime.
Francis, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.